Hey everyone, we have the product director at Crystal, Bitfury. He'll be doing a talk on Darknet use and Bitcoin. Would you mind giving a quick intro on yourself before you start talking? And for the audience, can you confirm you can hear him once he starts talking?
Sure. Thanks for the introduction. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. My name is Kyrylo Chykhradze. I'm product director at Crystal Blockchain, and hope you hear me quite well. Nice. So let's start today. Today we are going to talk about Darknet use of Bitcoin. I'll be speaking on behalf of Crystal Blockchain. I encourage you to put your questions into the chat while I'm speaking. That's how I'll be having more time to read and to be prepared for your questions. So let me highlight the outline of my speech. I'll start with short introduction about who we are. Then I just want to briefly explain how does Crystal work and how do all the blockchain analytics work. Then I'll switch to the research itself, and we'll end up with some conclusions. So Crystal Blockchain is an analytics platform for cryptocurrencies, for crypto compliance and crypto investigations. We went live in 2018 as a part of Bitfury Group. And you may know Bitfury Group is one of the biggest Bitcoin mining companies. And now Crystal is a spin-off project that helps our customers, our clients to deal with AML regulations, to be compliant with those regulations, as well as to deal with investigations that involve cryptocurrencies. So we are targeting mainly financial institutions and law enforcement and government authorities with an intuitive, user-friendly interface alongside the integration simplicity of the product. How actually Crystal works? It's important to understand how we have collected the data. I'll be speaking about later during my speech. As a first step, as an input, we take raw blockchain data. It is a lot of hashes of addresses, hashes of transaction hashes. And what we need to do with that, we have to somehow identify what is the links between those addresses, how those addresses can be tied together, whether they are operating under the same actor, whether they are somehow connected in terms of private keys. And that's how we are able to do so. We have different techniques that allow us to identify these patterns, that allow us to identify what are the pool of addresses this particular actor is operating. After that, after we have identified a bunch of addresses operating under the same unit, we need to understand what is the exact name on this unit. And it's another complex task that we are able to solve. What we do, we are actually interacting with different entities. We scrape the web, and this helps us to understand the exact names of the clusters we have identified in the previous step. So we see, for instance, that there is a cluster with 1 million of addresses, and we have, for instance, we have found some mentions in the web about wallets from this cluster. And for instance, these mentions are saying that this cluster can belong to, for instance, Coinbase. And in order to prove this, we interact with Coinbase and see how the funds are how the funds walked through the Coinbase entity, and we analyze this data, and therefore we are able to understand whether it's true or not. And the next step, it's probably more related to anti-money laundering programs, but we have to deal with risk scoring. So we assign expert values to all the entities that we have in our product. We have around 20 different types that we categorize, but I'll be speaking more about 5 categories that we have identified that are important for the research we have performed, and the research I'll be speaking about right now. So what is the research actually about? And how the data was actually collected, because it's crucial to understand before I jump in to the results. So we took all the Darknet services that we were able to identify. We have around 350 entities operated in the dark web, and we analyzed those who were active since 2017. And why we did this? We did this to understand what is the money turnover on the hidden web since 2017, and we wanted to compare that to the current turnover to nowadays volumes. So again, we took 350 Darknet entities, and we start to analyze these entities, how they are operating with, how they are interacting with other known entities. And by known entities, I mean 4 main categories that I'll be talking about. 2 of them include different exchanges with different KYC procedures. We'll have exchanges with verification requirements, meaning that those exchanges do require KYC, know your customer. They are compliant with all the regulations. They are compliant with anti-money laundering policies, and they do not allow to withdraw any funds, any amount of funds without verification, without confirmation of identity. And the second type of service that we have analyzed is exchanges without any verification. So those services allow to withdraw some amount of funds without any identification. Then we have a very important group of services called mixers, and those are the services that help to improve the anonymity of transactions, as it makes Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies harder to trace. The fourth entity type is Darknet entities. So it's the main point of our research. This is the entities that operate via Darknet on the hidden web and offer illegal goods or services, and mainly they are using cryptocurrencies as a payment service. And we have the fifth type. It accumulates all the other types that we have in our product. This includes payment processors, gambling services, different illegal services, miners, some marketplaces, online wallets, etc. So now let's have a look at the volumes in total. So what you can see here is this line represent amount in Bitcoins that were sent to Darknet, and this is the line that represent amount in Bitcoins that dark marketplaces have sent in this particular period. And you can also see here the amount in fiat. And if we have a look at the fiat volume, it grows constantly. So it started from more than $200 million in the beginning of 2017, and it ended up with more than $800 million by the middle of this year. And yeah, so it's important to say that fiat volume was calculated as a date of the transactions. So if the transaction happened in December 2017, it will be closer to 20,000 per 1 Bitcoin. And if we speak about nowadays, it will be closer to 10,000 per 1 BTC. And yeah, so the volumes in fiat pass through again through the Darknet entities is growing constantly, and it's probably because of mass adoption of cryptocurrencies as well as Bitcoin's ease of use and popularity. It's I think it's main contributing factor of this growth, and yeah, also more as we see more dark markets start to accepting Bitcoin as a kind of main payment method. And in total, there is quite a substantial number that passed through the Darknet entities since 2017. It's more than $3.5 billion starting from January 2017. And now let's have a look at how outputs are categorized, meaning from which services Darknet marketplaces users are trying to withdraw their funds more frequently. And we have 5 different categories here, and timelines starting from early 2017. And apparently the services that do not require KYC, exchanges without verification requirements, are the most popular platforms for cashing out cryptocurrencies from Darknet marketplaces. And it's around 65% of all funds that have been withdrawn from Darknet marketplaces. They have moved to those exchanges without KYC. However, as we see, guidelines and regulations have been laid out by the Financial Action Task Force and by European Union, and those guidelines are mostly targeting exchanges or more commonly virtual asset service providers. And this has been done in order to prevent illicit activity involving cryptocurrencies, and that's why more regulations are entering the space. Therefore, more exchanges are implementing verification procedures due to requirements from the Financial Action Task Force, and that's why Darknet users tend to use other services to withdraw funds from Darknet marketplaces. And this ended up, as you may see, this ended up with this 14%. That means that those 14% of funds have been, so 14% of funds have been cashed out through mixing services, as mixing service popularity is growing as well, alongside the growing popularity of cryptocurrencies. So that means that 1/7 of all dark market withdrawals was made through the mixing services, and again, this is happening because more exchanges implementing FATF requirements, and Darknet users are trying to avoid the risk of being revealed, and so Darknet users try to hide their activity by using mixing services, by preferring mixing services to exchanges for withdrawals of cryptocurrencies. And you see that we have more than $100 million funds cashed out from Darknet year to date. What is reassuring, however, that these activities are quite easy to monitor and quite easy to identify with analytical tools like Crystal, and this may help you to avoid being used as a money laundering platform or money laundering actor, and that's why you'll be compliant with all the requirements provided by FATF, Financial Action Task Force, and therefore you'll be able to avoid illegal activity happening nearby to you. So I think that's kind of main points I would like to raise. More you can find more on our website. I'll share the link later in my very last slide. But before I end up, I my speech, I'd like to draw your attention to more insights that we have been able to provide since 2018. For instance, we have analyzed historical international flow of cryptocurrencies, of Bitcoin mainly, between countries. So you're able to understand what is the volumes that are transferred between different countries. So I encourage you to visit our website. And also we have calculated amounts of funds being held by dormant addresses, by silent addresses, as well as we have been able to identify source of these funds, and quite interesting insights we were able to discover there. So again, feel free to join our to visit our website www.crystalblockchain.com. Subscribe to our Twitter channels, Crystal platform, and yeah, if you're interested in demo or in trial access, just drop me an email or contact us via website. And yeah, hope you'll enjoy the rest of the day, and I hope to see some questions in the chat. Okay, so we have a question. Yeah, good question. How can one associate Bitcoin address with geographic location, or how do you create a roadmap of Bitcoin flows? Yeah, it's a good question indeed. So we have assigned the services that. So we have assigned the services with their countries of registration. We have assigned services according to where are they operating from. And we perform this analysis for exchanges mainly, meaning we assessed amount of funds being transferred between different exchanges that are registered in certain areas. For instance, if you have Coinbase, you are registered in the United States, and we have Binance, for instance, and they are operating from, let's say, Malta, and if they send between them like $1 billion, it will be linked as, it will be mapped as $1 billion was transferred between Malta and the United States. Hope that makes sense. Yeah, so we have quite decent and complex report available on our website on this matter, and we explain how we performed this research. So feel free to download it on our website. What kinds of mixers are most used? Wasabi or Samurai? How about privacy coins like Monero or Zcash? Yeah, that's a good question. Unfortunately, I cannot promote mixers. However, both of them are quite popular so far. But according to new guidelines, mixing services are not something that is allowed to use, and that's why financial institutions and cryptocurrency exchanges should perform this analysis of incoming transfers and outgoing transfers in order to prevent being involved in accepting funds from mixers or sending money to those Tumblr services. And see follow-up question on this as well. Can you de-anonymize these mixers or privacy coins? So it's quite hard to de-anonymize some types of mixers. However, for some cases, it's really possible. But frankly speaking, it's not required by the regulations, because all you need to understand is whether or not funds were involved in mixing. So if you see that some part of funds came from illegal services like dark marketplaces or mixing services, this is a red flag for a compliance officer, and it's not necessary to demix this, de-anonymize these mixing transactions. Regarding privacy coins, we see that some of the major cryptocurrency players started to delist privacy coins again because of requirements of Financial Action Task Force, and because it's really hard to analyze, to perform this privacy coin analysis, and I think that's what we are going to go, where we are going to go in terms of privacy coins. I think we'll see more delisting of these privacy coins. Does Crystal offer services for Ethereum chain analysis and other coins? If so, are the results for Bitcoin increasing usage in Darknet deposits withdrawals similar to that of Ethereum plus others? Yeah, thank you for this question. It's another good question. Crystal does provide services for more currencies. We have, as of now, we are able to deal with Bitcoin, USDT, Bitcoin Cash, Ether with all the tokens, ERC20 and ERC71, Litecoin and Ripple. And of course, if we take into consideration more coins, the numbers will be even bigger than you have seen during my speech. And also what we see so far, that cryptocurrencies, so dark marketplaces start to use other cryptocurrencies, for instance, Bitcoin Cash, Ether, some tokens, Litecoin, and probably this will end up with Bitcoin will not be dominating cryptocurrency on dark markets, and that's why we are going to update all our researches with more currencies that we are able to analyze. So feel free to subscribe. Feel free to subscribe for our newsletters, and we will be sharing with you all the updates that we have on this front. Any other questions?
Cool. So unless there are any questions, we can wrap up a bit early and just take a 7-minute break before the next session.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Oh, is it another question? Does your company use any open source tools you want to talk about? We do have, I would not say it's open source tools, but we do have some vendors that serve us with the data. But yeah, that's fine. Questions are always good. We don't use open source tools. We have several vendors that provide us with some insights in terms of dark web, so they provide us with their data. And yeah, we are trying not to use open source, but so we create everything on everything proprietary. Hope that answered the question.
Okay, awesome. So we're going to end the broadcast now, and we'll start in 5 minutes. Thanks so much.
Thanks.